Welcome to the Recover You podcast. I'm Kylene.
And I'm Patrick.
We are a couple in recovery
from sex addiction
and betrayal trauma. Together, we share our story to encourage you on your journey. It's here that we talk about sex addiction, betrayal trauma, mental, emotional, and physical health, faith, and anything and everything needed to recover you to your most authentic self that God created you to be. Hello, everyone. Kylene here with a very quick, very short little surprise episode. And by surprise, I mean I am surprising myself. I am surprising my editor, and I am surprising Patrick with this because none of us knew that I was recording this special episode, this bonus episode, until pretty much right now. So the day that I'm recording this is actually January 30th. And tomorrow, January 31st, is the 4-year anniversary of Discovery. And so I actually really wanted to just hop on, and I wanted to record a really short episode by myself without Patrick to celebrate where we are and to kind of surprise him a little bit with an episode, again, very briefly, just thanking him and talking about where I am mentally and emotionally today. So I very quickly want to say that I realize that if you are early on in recovery, hearing this from me might be a little triggering. So if you're not in the place to hear, happy couple kind of stuff, then that's okay. That's totally okay. I remember so many times when in the beginning, if I would see someone writing a story about reconciliation, there was always something that I felt like, are they really happy? I had this question of like, are they actually happy? Are they really content with each other? Or did they just sort of settle, right? And so I hope that we've communicated this in our podcast, and as you've gotten to know us over the past several years, that there has been zero settling in this relationship. I was committed from day one that if we were going to stay together, this was going to be a good relationship. And there have been many days where I have been discouraged, where I was discouraged by how difficult it was to overcome my own trauma, my own significant pain from this. I feel like Patrick's journey to recovery was so quick in the sense of getting into sobriety and recovery for his addiction. But then our coupleship just took so much time to rebuild that trust. And I was just so committed that I was not going to leave any stone unturned. And I am sure that as we continue moving forward in our journey of life together, that there will be more stones, there will be more roadblocks, there will be more anxiety or things that we have to navigate as a couple together. But what I wanted to just hop on today to share how beautiful I actually think January 31st is now, like my perspective of what that is now. And when I say that, I don't mean, oh, I'm so thankful that this happened. Patrick and I have always been clear, like we're never going to be like, oh, like I want somebody else to go through this. No, we don't, not ever. Or I'm so grateful that this happened in my life. No, it was the worst thing either one of us ever had to do. But my perspective on that day is now a positive perspective in terms of January 31st, 2025 is not a traumatizing day for me. It's a celebratory day for me. I am celebrating 4 years in recovery, 4 years of the time it has taken to do the work to become the humans that we are today. And I am so grateful for the humans that we are today. So 4 years ago, on January 31st, 2021, I started to tug that thread unknowingly, totally unknowingly, that unraveled the tapestry of our life and our relationship. I started kind of unknowingly pulling the thread that exposed Patrick's secret addiction, and I questioned absolutely everything. And I will not sugarcoat it. You guys know, and you have heard me talk about, and if you follow me on social media, you understand that this led to extreme anxiety, extreme depression, sometimes to the point of not caring if I woke up the next day. This was so hard. I had feelings of isolation when people who knew the story didn't, they knew what was happening, but they didn't know how to offer support. And that felt very lonely and isolating to me. I had fear of the future. I had this concept of like, okay, I believe in transformation. I believe in recovery. I believe in reconciliation. I believe all of that's possible, but is it possible for me? Is it possible for us? like, what does the future look like? There was so much of like living in the day and figuring out, how to survive. There was extreme grieving as I released the past that I thought I knew. I thought I knew who Patrick was. I thought I knew the life we had. I thought I knew our relationship, and I loved all of it. And then all of that was gone in 24, 48 hours as I started figuring out what was going on and who he was and, what were we? Like, I didn't know. And eventually pulling on that thread really opened the door for Patrick and for me to step into healing. And like I said, neither one of us would look back, today and go, I'm so glad this happened. It was the best thing ever. No, it was the most painful thing ever. And pain can be transformed into healing. Fear can be transformed into confidence. Addiction can be transformed into freedom. Trauma can be transformed into a story of recovery. And a relationship that was destroyed can create an opportunity to clear out the rubble and build something new. So this podcast episode I'm not sharing this with a heavy heart. I am not sharing it with embarrassment or shame. I am sharing this with warm, happy, confident, positive thoughts as someone who is very satisfied and very happy in my current relationship with my partner who is in recovery and in a relationship that is totally based on safety, vulnerability, honesty, transparency, accountability, and trust. Just yesterday, my husband was literally talking to me about parts work and like inner child work and some conversations he was having about those topics. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so sexy. 3 years ago, that concept, I would have been like, what? Right? But it was like the depth of his healing to the point that he has internalized these concepts, to the point that he can have these types of conversations with me, to the point that he can encourage and share and mentor with others and help them through their pain with complete integrity and complete sincerity. And, I am not one to make an episode like this or share something on Facebook that is insincere in any way. I did not post photos of him almost at all for like a year and a half while we were going through this because I was like, I'm not going to post something gushy. I'm not going to post things that make us look happy when we're not happy. Like, I'm not going to lie or put on a facade about our relationship. Like, to me, it has to feel sincere and it has to be full of integrity. And so the fact that I am sharing this episode with you and talking about how far we've come, I have been really proud, overwhelmed, surprised. I don't know exactly what the word is to describe the thoughts that I have had recently. Pleased, I guess, would be a great word. Just how far we have come and how good we have felt and how connected we are now that we have really just like, we kept pressing on. We would keep hitting, okay, here's another trigger. Here's another pain point. Here's another insecurity on both sides. Both of us had wounds and both of us had insecurities that this process brought right up to the surface. Feelings of not being good enough for Patrick. Feelings of comparison for me. Lots and lots of insecurity and wounding that we have carefully and intentionally and slowly worked through together, knowing ultimately that no matter what happened, we were on each other's team and we wanted each other to succeed. I wanted him to be successful. He wanted me to be successful. If that meant ultimately that we could have a healthy relationship, then great. But if it didn't, we still wanted the other person to succeed. I want him to be happy and healthy, and he wants me to be happy and healthy. I want him to be in sobriety. He wants me to recover from the pain. And we really, with all sincerity, chose to move through that together, even when it hurt and was incredibly difficult. And so I am just so proud of the work that Patrick has done. Again, not only in his own life, his heart, his mind, but his willingness to pass it on to others, to be in this podcast, to lead groups, to mentor people empathetically, to help them into recovery, to just, come around people who go, hey, I'm struggling. And he will essentially just make it happen. He'll go to lunch, he'll go to breakfast, he'll get on a phone call. And the amount of time that he spends with people on a weekly basis, going to these groups, leading these recovery groups, spending time recording the podcast with me. And, I get paid in my coaching practice to work with people. They hire me and I have sessions with them. He doesn't get paid for any of this. He does it out of the goodness of his heart because he knows what it feels like to go from feeling like your world is imploding and everything is horrible and you don't know, that you want it to continue tomorrow because you feel so guilty and so ashamed about your behavior, to feeling free and aligned and confident. And he wants to pass that on. And he does all of this voluntarily. And so I am just really thankful for that level of integrity and that intentionality and his passion for helping people. I am so grateful for the hundreds of individuals that have been positively impacted by our recovery story. And I'm so thankful for my coaching practice where I get to support women who are feeling the things that I had felt before in the first couple years and in the past several years. I am deeply grateful to now, today, be in a relationship where I feel safe and loved and cared for, where everything is out in the open and we do not have secrets from each other. It took us so long to clear the rubble and to get stable again. And it took a long, long time to feel actually happy emotions and to begin building on that. But I just wanted to drop this short episode today to encourage you. 4 years after discovery, and now we're in recovery and reconciliation together. And I am sharing that with you as a celebration of personal growth, relational transformation, recovery story, and in so many ways for both of us, a complete rebirth. I think both of us would say that today we are different human beings than we were 4 years ago. I'm so proud of our work. I'm so proud of our relationship. I admire Patrick for his continued depth and personal reflection and commitment to integrity. And so something that could be such a traumatic day, something that could be so scary and something that we want to forget, I'm celebrating that day this year because it brought us to this day where an exciting, busy, and hopeful future awaits. So Patrick, since this is a surprise, I just want to wrap this up by saying how much I love you, how much I appreciate you. I respect what you're doing in this world by living with such integrity and authenticity and passing along to others with such sincerity. And I am so honored and privileged to live this life with you and to continue on this journey together. And I'm so excited to see what comes next. Woohoo! If you're listening to this, it means you've made it through an entire episode. Part of recovery is spending time engaging in healing and self-growth activities. We are thankful that you chose our podcast to be one of those activities today. Make sure you reward yourself for that accomplishment. If you've enjoyed this episode or this podcast, we would love to hear from you. Please take just a few moments to leave a rating and review, letting us know your experience with Recover You. We not only love hearing how these episodes are helpful, but ratings and reviews help others just like you who are searching for recovery information and support find the podcast too. We can't wait to hear from you. See you next week.